What's going on, everybody? This is Island Hopper TV, and today we're going to talk about things you should know before visiting Japan. Let's do it. All right, first thing we're going to talk about is arrival into Japan. Most of you will either arrive in Osaka at Kansai Airport or in Tokyo at Narita or Haneda. Those are the big three. So when you arrive here, what do you need for documents? I think there's about 25 different countries that can arrive visa on arrival, so you don't need to get any visa or anything for those 25 countries. If you are coming from any of the countries outside of that, obviously you'll need to apply. But you should go on to the government website and fill out the immigration form as well as the customs form, just to make the arrival process smoother. You don't have to fill it out. You can write it down on a piece of paper on the airplane. But if you have the barcode, it just makes the immigration process so much easier. So now let's talk about where you'll want to go when you come to Japan. In the far south, you have Okinawa, beautiful tropical islands. In the middle, you have Osaka. And then above that, you have Kyoto, about 43 kilometers away. Then you have Nara, which is just south of Kyoto and north of Osaka. Then you have Nagoya and Tokyo being the largest city in Japan. And then in the far north, you have the cold Arctic areas of Sapporo. Now let's talk about what to wear in Japan. So I'm here in October. It just now started to get cold right as it approached Halloween. So consider wearing warmer clothes anytime around Halloween until April, so pack for that. Summertime, it's going to be humid and hot, so you're going to want to wear clothes that work like that. But one of the things I will say is don't go out in town wearing gym clothes or anything like that. You won't see that unless you're working out. Most people in Japan wear suits, especially in Tokyo. You walk around Ginza, you walk around Shibuya in the daytime, most of the people are wearing suits, women and men. So it is a place you're going to want to dress up, collared shirts. Me personally, I'm an American. I stand out like a sore thumb because I wear American clothes around here. I don't even know how to wear a suit really, because I wouldn't even know how to pack it and keep it pressed on these long journeys. But even then, it's okay. But you definitely want to kind of level up your attire here. It's not a place to dress down. From my experience, it is a place where people stay in suits and dress up. Now let's talk about some of the cultural activities that you can do while here in Japan. Obviously there's the onsen, spa, and massage. That's an experience, going to the hot spring, and it is a cultural thing. Then going to many of the different shrines here in Kyoto. They have so many shrines here. They have plenty in Osaka and also in Tokyo, but Kyoto in particular, you'll see many shrines because this was the capital here in Kyoto for over 1,000 years for Japan. Another cultural activity that seems to be very popular is drinking tea, matcha tea, green tea. Seems to be something that people do. Also, karaoke. I would say it's a modern cultural trend, but K-pop, J-pop, whatever you want to call it, Japanese pop. I've went to a couple bars where the locals were all Japanese and singing everything from Japanese pop music to American pop music or British pop music. So those are 4 things that you may want to consider doing. Also anime, going to some of these arcades and toy capsule stores, very popular here. Now let's talk some geography. So the things you're going to want to know about Japan: there's 120 million people living here. The 4 main islands, well there's almost 5, but we'll say Hokkaido, Honshu, Shikoku, and Kyushu. A little bit hard to say those, but those are the 4 main islands. There's over 6,500 islands in all of Japan with 120 million people. Quite a big country in terms of population. All right, now let's talk about how friendly are the people. So I've found the people to be very friendly all across Japan. You know, you hear stories about people who say, it's not very easy being a foreigner here. I personally haven't had any problems with that. I would tell you if I did. Haven't had any people treat me rudely or aggressively. I've had that happen in other countries, I think, but not here. So I would say, generally speaking, the people are very friendly. Every time I go to a restaurant, they're always so polite and so friendly, and willing to help me. So I definitely don't have any issues feeling out of place. And as you can see, you know, I'm very European looking, right? It's not like I'm not a foreigner. But yeah, so I would say overall, people are very friendly in Japan. The hardest part, obviously, communication, but even then, I haven't had any problems with that, just using Google Translate or Google Maps to help me get around with the taxis. So yeah, good place, friendly. Now let's talk about safety here in Japan. So is it safe? Obviously, yes, it's famous for being safe. Have I seen anything dangerous? Well, aside from Shinjuku at night, that's still probably the craziest nightlife I've seen here in Japan. It's still very tame and modest compared to places like Bourbon Street, New Orleans, or anywhere else around the world. So that's about as crazy as it's going to get, and still even there it is quite safe, although there are scammers in that area. There's not many scammer areas I've seen in Japan, but that was a place where there are scammers. So it's like a petty theft kind of scam, right? I'm not going to go into too much details on what exactly that is, but it can vary everything from, hey, follow me, let's go to this nightclub or something like that, and then you get in there and you're paying way more than you thought. But there are natural disasters here. So earthquakes, tsunamis, those can happen, although quite rare. The likelihood that happens when you're here, not very high, but Japan is known for even volcanoes. Mount Fuji is a volcano. So those are just some things to know about safety. Overall, very safe. Probably one of the safest countries you'll go to. All right, let's talk about transportation here in Japan. So where do you begin, really? Well, we can talk about the bullet train, the Shinkansen. That's the most popular thing that people see when they get here and think it's so amazing, and it really is. It's the fastest train in the world. I think it goes 300 kilometers per hour. I've ridden it 3 times now, going from Tokyo to Osaka. That took 2.5 hours. Then I went from Osaka to Kyoto, and that took around 20 minutes. The prices vary depending on the class that you want to do, but the one that went from Kyoto to here in Nagoya, that actually cost me $30. So that's non-reserved seating. Now, they do have Uber here. I found that to be really nice because most Asian countries don't have Uber. They use Grab. Korea doesn't even use either of those two. You have to download a new app entirely and sign up. But if you don't have a phone number for Korea, you can't do it. So Japan, good job on the Uber. You can still get taxis quite easy, but right now in the situation I'm in Nagoya, if I wanted to ride out of here, I would just go on Uber because there's not really any taxis. Now inside the cities, they do have metro systems. You can get the universal card like Passmo. I would highly recommend the Passmo card. I've been able to use that in Tokyo, Osaka. I'm sure it would work here in Nagoya, Kyoto. All I have to do is top up and put funds on it and it'll work. It's really good. Also, there's the Japan Rail Pass, or the JR card. I don't know how to get that exactly, but you can do some research online, and I think that makes everything even easier. But the buses, those are like a second best option to the subway. I do prefer the subway rail system over the buses. The buses can be really crowded. That's the thing. It's very crowded here in Japan. Now let's talk about some things you shouldn't do when you're in Japan. Number one is you shouldn't be sloppy. I would say here it's a very strict country, and if you dress like, you know, just stepped out of a gym, or if you dress like not very good. I mean, even me right now, I'm wearing this sweater and some shorts and a hat. I stand out like a sore thumb because most of the people around here are wearing suits and business attire and very well dressed. So don't be sloppy. Number two is don't feel like you need to tip. Some people like to tip, but I don't know if that's a good idea because I've actually gotten awkward responses to tips. People have refused money, so technically I think there's a law where people can't receive petty cash or coins off of you, so keep that in mind if you're trying to tip. I don't think it's tolerated here or accepted. I think it's frowned upon because most people would rather not have to tip. So they don't accept tips or give tips. Another thing not to do is talk too loud on the trains. Westerners like to talk on their phones or even talk loud, have loud conversations, but you'll notice it's very calm and quiet on a train, so don't talk too loud on there. And another thing you really shouldn't do in public is public display of affection, PDA, public show of affection. It's not looked upon very positively, so if you are in love and you're feeling romantic, do that behind closed doors. Here's another thing you shouldn't do is wear shoes on carpets. Even in your hotel when no one's looking, technically you're supposed to take off your shoes, especially when you're walking on the carpet. That's why you'll notice all the carpets and the flooring is in really good condition. Another thing you should be aware of is that the slippers you wear in the room are different than the slippers you'll wear in the bathroom. So there's bathroom slippers, and then there's slippers that you'll wear around your room or elsewhere. So kind of interesting, but that's just the cleanliness. Okay, let's talk about the subject of mask wearing. I would say around 40% of the people in Tokyo, in Japan in general, wear masks pretty much everywhere. Riding bikes, walking, indoors, on metros. It's considered common hospitality, or the appropriate thing to do is wear your mask when you're on a metro system. As far as that goes, I don't think it's mandated, but I do see a lot of people wearing masks. For example, 2 people wearing masks, 2 people not wearing masks. So it's one of those things. So now let's talk about the best time to visit Japan. So from my experience, I would say the shoulder months are the best. Not as many tourists. That's going to be in the fall or in the spring. Spring has the cherry blossoms, fall has the autumn colors. Summer months obviously has guaranteed humidity and lots of tourists, and then winter has some snow. And if you can handle the snow and the cold temperatures in Japan, then that's going to be the least amount of crowds. But for me, I definitely recommend the shoulder months. Better prices, less crowds, pretty good weather actually, and you get the cherry blossoms or the fall colors. Now let's talk about the check-in process here in Japan for hotels. So they have usually a strict rule about checking in at 3 o'clock. Unlike other places, you can check in a bit early. Here in Japan, 3 o'clock, checkout tends to be around like 10 a.m. for most of the APA hotels. And then around 10 or 11, maybe 12 for Marriott or Hilton. But even those chain hotels that usually let you check in early, especially if you're a member with them or something, very rare. I don't think I've checked in before 3 for any of those hotels the whole time I've been in Japan for 2 weeks now. So just keep that in mind when booking. Sometimes it's better to just pick one hotel and base camp there for as long as you can. Oh, I was able to get late checkout, but I had to pay 1,000 yen per hour. So for example, if I wanted to stay till 12 at APA Hotel, I had to pay them 2,000 yen to check out at 12 instead of 10. Because, you know, if you go out late, you might want a couple hours extra just to relax in the morning, in the afternoon. Because really, not much is going on in the mornings. In Tokyo or Osaka, you have to wait till like 12 o'clock. Most restaurants don't open till 11. Around 149 yen equals $1 US, right? So that means when you go to an ATM, if you want to have $200, you're basically pulling out 30,000 yen, okay? That's like $210, depending on the exchange rate. Obviously, that fluctuates. One thing I would say is the coins here, they have more value than you think. For example, 500 yen is around almost $3, but around $2.50. So keep your coins. But the problem is, coins have value, they add up in your pocket, they jingle jangle, so they can be a bit annoying. But I try to pay digitally as often as possible, although you can't always pay digital with credit cards. Sometimes you have to pay cash. For example, at the train station, they only take cash. There's many different times I've come across cash only situations, so do be aware of that. Some other interesting facts or things that I found about Japan: there's not a lot of trash cans or bathrooms, especially in concentrated areas. And I feel weird throwing away my rubbish in a trash can in a restaurant if I'm not staying there, or at a 7-Eleven or something, because You have to go inside there, and they're kind of like, why are you doing that? Give you that look, but you know, you're the foreigner person who does that, right? Even if you use a restroom, some areas had them, but they're not as common as you would suspect. And with that being said, it's still a very clean city, much cleaner than San Francisco or other major American cities. Like Osaka is much cleaner, Tokyo, even with the lack of trash cans. But they do put the trash in bags on the street side ever so often, which is kind of tacky in a way. It's not in a container. I don't know why they do it that way, but they do. Here we have chicken katsu, a noodle soup, and an egg. Pot stickers. And here's a look at some Wagyu beef. Also some ramen noodle with a quail egg and some pork. Fire grilled sushi with some miso soup. All right, guys, that's going to conclude this episode of Island Hopper TV from here in Japan. If you guys enjoyed it, please consider watching some more of our other videos, like our Osaka Things to Do or Tokyo Things to Do video next.